Throughout history, the outlook on women, their roles, and available freedoms have fluctuated as societies have changed. Typically, women have been awarded fewer rights and responsibilities when compared to men. The treatment of their mental health was very questionable and negatively impacted the lives of many women. More women have additional rights and better treatment in the modern day era due to the outcry and rebellion of many different female figures in history. There is evidence that the improper treatment of women and any mental health condition they might obtain has been detrimental to their lives. Women in history have come forward to advocate for change as there are better ways for them to be treated. I have struggled with mental health disorders myself and have seen how being taken seriously and treated properly has improved my life and mental health. I have also researched the ways in which a woman's mental health can be treated effectively and the facts surrounding women's rights and treatment in history. While women still struggle with their rights in several countries around the world today, women still have more rights today when compared to the Victorian period. Throughout the course of the Victorian age, people began to define men and women's roles in a stricter manner. Men were allowed more positions of power in all aspects of their lives, including having power over the women. Men were seen as the more intelligent, capable, and rational gender. Women were thought to be the gender that required consistent direction and supervision. Women were seen as too emotional, not rational, and unstable. They expected women to be followers, to be caretakers, and to be married. They were not allowed to be in any position of power, to vote, or hold most jobs. Many women during the 19th century were thought to be insane if they went against what the society wanted them to do. Many various symptoms could qualify women to be insane, and those women had the chance of being placed in mental asylums because of them. According to Catherine Puba and Ashley Tianen in their article on the topic, the symptoms qualifying a woman's need for admittance during this time would be considered controversial in the present day. Symptoms such as depression after the death of a loved one, use of abusive language, and suppressed menstruation, meaning the lack of a menstrual cycle, would not be accepted as reasons for admittance to a mental institution today. Not only were the symptoms controversial to today's practices, but the diagnoses resulting from the symptoms were also only during this time period. Not all women were sent to asylums. Many of them were prescribed what was known as the Victorian Rest Cure, which was designed by Silas Weir Mitchell, who was an American physician. This controversial treatment was thought to cure many mental health conditions that women suffered from. The treatment included women to be physically inactive at all times, to not leave the home, to not write or read, and to not do much of anything in their lives. This treatment could go on for many weeks and months at a time. Many women were against such treatment and dismissiveness. They decided to speak up and advocate for the better treatment of their gender. There are several examples of women who advocated for women's rights, including Elizabeth Packard and Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Elizabeth Packard was a Victorian woman whose husband admitted her to an insane asylum because she did not share the same religious views as he did. Her experiences within the asylum were terribly negative, and at times very violent. After she was able to prove that she did not belong in such a place, she went on to start the organization named the Anti-Asylum Society, which worked to prevent other women from being sent to insane asylums unnecessarily. She also authored several books and traveled across America advocating for the improved treatment of women. Charlotte Perkins Gilman was a British writer who experienced the dismissive treatment of women during that time and the Victorian Rest Cure, which was negatively affected her mental health. She decided to write The Yellow Wallpaper, which was a short story following the life of a woman in the 1800s that is struggling with her role as a woman in patriarchal society. The short story was written to bring awareness to how the dismissive treatment of women has negatively affected them, and to prove that women's mental health should be taken more seriously. There is good reason that these women decided to act. One reason is that postpartum depression has severely impacted many women throughout history. During the Victorian era, this condition was not taken seriously, and they did not use the treatments that have since been proven to help. There are many ways that postpartum depression and other types of depression can affect a woman, and several ways in which the mental disorders can be treated successfully. According to the article Treatment of Postpartum Depression, Clinical, Psychological, and Pharmacological Options, perinatal depression causes significant suffering in women at a time when personal or societal notions of motherhood as a uniquely joyful, if tiring, experience may be incongruous with the depressed woman's ability to feel gratification in the mothering role, connect with her infant, or carry out the often overwhelming tasks of caring for a new baby. Other symptoms of this type of depression include severe mood swings, extreme sadness and emptiness, and intense anxiety. The proper treatment for postpartum depression, or depression in general, looks a lot different than the treatment the women received during the Victorian era. The treatments with the most likelihood for success in achieving recovery would be taking antidepressants, exercising, having therapy sessions, and receiving adequate social support. There are ways in which the mental health of women was dealt with during the Victorian period, ways in which women advocated for better treatment, and proper ways to deal with their mental health conditions. It is easy to understand the reasons behind the advocacy for the improvement of the treatment of women. The Victorian era was a challenging time in history for many women that lived during it. Women's rights and mental health should be important for everyone who wants a better functioning society and should never be overlooked.